What's up, everybody? You're probably coming across this video because you have an F150 with a 2.7 Ecoboost and you have a fuel pressure issue regarding a high pressure fuel pump. If and that is indeed your issue, I'm going to show you how to replace that. So to kind of get started on why we're doing a high pressure fuel pump on this vehicle, is it came in with an engine code P0087. So I took the scanner and did some live fuel data and found that the high side was like 200 and something PSI under the desired pressure, which is I think like 294 or something like that. The low side checked out, it was like 60, and I think that's where its desired fuel pressure should be, and that is the fuel pressure coming out of the pump in the fuel tank. So being that I've never done a high pressure fuel pump on a 2.7, I went up online to see where it was when I noticed that it wasn't where they stick the 3.5 high pressure fuel pump, which is right on the driver's side on top of the valve cover. And kind of digging around on top of this engine, I found that the high pressure fuel pump is actually behind the passenger side cylinder head. And the only way you're going to get this thing out is removing the intake manifold. It's a little more complicated than the 3.5, so that's why I'm making the video, because there's really nothing out there, at least from what I found doing my digging. I didn't find any write-ups, no videos. I don't know, maybe there's one out there. But anyways, to get this thing off, it's really not too bad. The manifold is really not that bad to get off. It's 8 bolts. You need an 8mm socket. You gotta loosen up those 4 bolts, and then those 4 bolts. There's a couple lines that you need to take off. Like, I'll show you how to take. That's your crankcase breather. There's a sensor that sits right on top. I just left it plugged into the harness and just undid the 8mm bolt for that. And then also the pigtail for your throttle body. There's another vacuum line on the left side of the intake you have to undo. And I'll show you how to undo these lines real quick, so you don't break them or anything. But basically, this is the crankcase breather hose. You've got these tabs here that you basically, see if I can get a better angle. You just push that back, and you can twist it and move it off. It's on both sides. And then the one on the left side of the intake manifold that I was showing you need to remove. You've got a green clip. You got to make sure that thing is down in order to get that vacuum line off. And then you have another vacuum line right here that goes to the passenger side turbo. You want to get this out of the way. It connects down to a rubber line somewhere down here. Where did I put it? Oh, right here. Connects right there. So you just undo it at that point. So to get this intake manifold to come out, you're going to have to undo these clips right here that go on those studs. So that way you get a little bit more movement out of the harness. And there's 2 big block connectors you want to undo. And then here's that sensor that I just left plugged into the harness. Took it off the manifold. And here's another one right here that I unplugged, but you'll see it's just bolted to the top of the manifold with another 8mm bolt. So the biggest reason of having to remove the intake to get the high pressure fuel pump off is because you're not going to get to these fittings from underneath, at least not very easily. I tried, and it wasn't going to work. So off comes the intake manifold. There's a couple of bolts too I want to point out that hold this coolant pipe to the manifold. They're 8mm as well, I believe, or 10, I can't remember, 8 or 10. But you want that to be loose so you can move it around to get the intake manifold off. Once you remove the intake manifold, I highly suggest putting a rag down so you don't drop anything down the intake ports, because yeah, this is going to be bad. So I want to show you the fuel line that connects to the high pressure fuel pump. There's a white clip that has to get pushed out in order for that line to lift off the port on the high pressure fuel pump. And if you see right there's a gray connector laying there that plugs into the sensor part of the high pressure fuel pump. Really just get all that disconnected. It's really not too bad. I'm probably into it so far about, I don't know, 45-50 minutes to get where I'm at, and that's because I've never done it before. But I'm pretty confident that if I ever had to do this again, I could probably do it in half the time. But I want to show you why the high pressure fuel pump is an issue. The customer had a new engine put in this vehicle about 1.5 years ago. I'm thinking somebody left something loose, because this is the old fuel pump, and there should be another one of these mounting ears on this side, and it's not there. Come to find out, it also broke the housing that it bolts to. So had to get a new one of those. Pretty cheap at Ford. I went through the dealership. It's $25. This is the new high pressure fuel pump. Obviously has 2 mounting tabs, so we're good there. So that is the issue for the high pressure fuel not being high pressure. And also another thing I want to say, this is the tappet that actuates the high pressure fuel pump. There's a cam lobe in the very back that pushes up and then actuates the spring up and down to pump fuel through. This is the part number for that tappet. It was like $45 through Ford. It's good to replace that when you do your high pressure fuel pump, because from my understanding, talking to a couple Ford techs, they are common to go out. So I'm hoping this video gives some insight to people that want to tackle their high pressure fuel pump on their Ecoboost 2.7. It's not too bad of a job. Like I said, it's probably going to be about a 2-hour job, and that's with me never doing this. So like I said, if I had to do it again, I'd probably do it in half the time. So if this video helps, give it a like. I'll see you guys later.